JetBrains Rider を使ったユニティゲームのデバッグ術と題しまして、JetBrains マット・エリス様よりご講演をいただきます。それではよろしくお願いいたします。
Hello everyone, thank you all for coming. My name is Matt, I'm here from JetBrains. I'm very pleased to be here, and today we're going to talk about JetBrains Rider, Unity and Debugging.
皆様こんにちは。JetBrains から参りましたマット・エリスでございます。そして私、本日、通訳させていただきます。オーワンと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
後半の方通訳担当します堀岡です。よろしくお願いします。
本日は Unity ゲームのデバッグ術と題しまして、皆様に、ライダーについて、デモを挟みながら、紹介させていただきます。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。本日のセッションの進め方でございますが、まず日本語でライダーなど概要を説明させていただきます。そして英語でマットによるデモを予定しております。よろしくお願いいたします。では早速、ライダーの概要について、ご紹介させていただきます。ここで皆様にご質問を、2つ、ご用意させていただきました。まず1つ、ライダーを使ったことはございますでしょうか。もしある方は挙手お願いいたします。ありがとうございます。では2つ目ですね、ライダーの日本語言語パックっていうものがあるのですが、そちらご利用になられていますでしょうか。ライダーをご利用いただいている方、挙手の方お願いいたします。ありがとうございます。JetBrains Rider は、スマートな C# IDE となっておりまして、自由自在なコードナビゲーションや、スマートなリファクタリング、豊富なインスペクション、そして Unity に特化した機能を、ご用意しております。先ほど、触れさせていただいた、UI の日本語化についても対応しております。プラグインページから日本語言語パックをインストールしていただき、再起動していただくと、UI がすべて日本語で表示されているようになりますので、大変、便利かなと、思います。ソースコードをライダーで開くために、Unity エディタ上でのセットアップが必要となります。Unity のエクスターナルツール、外部ツール設定ページでライダーを選択していただくと、C# をダブルクリックして、ライダーでプロジェクトを開いていただくことが可能となっております。そして、代表的な機能をここで3つほど紹介させていただきます。まず1つ目、Search Everywhere、どこでも検索という機能がございます。ライダーはゲーム内のすべてのリソースのインデックスを作成し、シフトとシフトを使って、ファイルやクラス、シンボルやテキストといったものを検索することができます。また、IDE の設定やアクションの検索、実行も可能となっております。コードインスペクションにつきましては、ライダーはコード内の問題をハイライトし、単純な C# スタイルの問題や、ヌルエラーの可能性といった、問題を、修正していただきます。そして Unity 統合も、豊富に取り揃えており、ライダー上でもプロジェクトを Unity エディタのように表示が可能となっております。ではここでデモを紹介させていただきます。
Okay, thank you. So yes, I'm going to just show Rider. This is Rider in action, and I can show some of the things we've just been talking about. If I hit Shift, I get search everywhere, and I can quickly search for anything with a particular word such as tower. So I can get tower library, or I can get tower defense menu, and I can quickly navigate around my code. I can also look for inspections. If I go to a class here, for example, we have an inspection to tell me that I should be using something other than comparing tag against a string literal, and I can do Alt-Enter and very quickly rewrite the code to do specific Unity things. I can also do that for a whole file, and it will update everywhere that it finds an issue. And it's a very quick way of updating your code. Same things with an empty update function. This is not a good idea for Unity. It's doing work it doesn't need to do. I can do Alt, Enter, and I can quickly remove the redundant function as well. And so it quickly rewrites your code and makes it better. I can also navigate to a file here, and we can see where this asset is being used in my code. So I can see ballistic projectile is being used in prefabs, and I can click the button and it'll switch me over to Unity, which recompiles. Let's just wait for Unity. Try that again. I can just click open in Unity there, and I can then double click to navigate to my projectile, and I can see the values here. I can see where it's being used. I can also see we have start speed, and it is being used in 3 assets, and it tells me what the value is, 20, 30, 40. And if I select that, it'll navigate to the value, and I can see that in the inspector. And if I navigate down to start speed, if I can find start speed, I've gone past it. There, start speed. And if I change that to 50 and save, if I come back to Rider, then we've got it there as 50. So it tells you where your data is being used inside your code, which is very, very helpful. And we'll switch back. Okay. And we'll start to talk about debugging.
ありがとうございます。で、ここからは、本日の本題であります、デバッグに関して、説明させていただきます。まずデバッグログというものは、ございます。ライダー内で Unity のログを表示することができます。こちらはロギングに最適なものとなっておりますが、デバッグには不向き。なぜなら、再コンパイルが必要となっております。IDE 側でデバッグを開始することがライダーでは可能となっております。ライダーが自動的に Unity エディターにアタッチする、実行構成を追加します。デバッグボタンをこのバグのアイコンですねをクリックしてアタッチしていただけます。デバッグを有効化する必要がある可能性もあるので、そちらをお気をつけください。Unity エディターにアタッチして再生すると、エディターが再生モードに切り替わります。ブレイクポイントというものがございまして、型をクリックして、追加、もしくは削除していただけます。コードの行にアプリが到達したらデバッガーは、停止いたします。コードのステップオーバーや、メソッドへのステップインなどが可能となっております。値のインスペクションもございます。デバッグツールウィンドウ内で値を確認していただき、カーソルを合わせて変数を展開していただくことが可能です。カスタムのウォッチの値として式を追加していただくも可能ですし、可能です。そして、その他の Unity ゲーム独自の値というものもございます。ライダーには Unity プロジェクト用の独自の値が、いくつか追加されており、アクティブなシーンやゲームの、現在のゲームオブジェクトといった、ものも、ライダーではご利用いただけるようになっております。
Okay, so let's see that working. Let's just close these windows. And I've got my game here ready to go. If I want to attach the editor, I can select it from here, attach to Unity Editor. I just click the debug button and Rider will do everything for me. The first time you do it, Unity might ask you to change into debug mode, and that's nice and easy to do. You just click Enable Debugging, And now you can start debugging with Unity. Unity will reload the app domain like it always does. So we just have to wait for Unity again. And now we'll be ready to start debugging. Now I can show this working quickly. And if we have a look at the console, we'll be able to see the output that Unity gets when you use debug.log. So if I go to the console and I start the game, we can see we get messages to say that there's a new enemy. And if we go over to Unity to Rider, we can use the Unity tab and we can see the items here as well. And so I can now start to type and filter those down, and I can see where it's being used, and I can click in the stack trace to see where it is that the call is happening. So it's a useful way of bringing the information into Rider. But to use that, you have to recompile, which is not good. So we're going to use breakpoints instead. So if I go to my wave class, and I can go to spawn agent, I can easily put a breakpoint just by clicking in the side of the item, the side of the editor, and we've got a breakpoint set up. And if I restart my game and I do start wave, then it hits at the breakpoint where the code is being executed. And here now we can do a lot more things. We can look at what's happening in the game. We can look, for example, at agent config down here. Let me just bring that up. Agent config, we can see the name of the item, we can see the description, we can see that it's a prefab, and so on. And we can carry on and resume. Now, if I go somewhere else, if I go to level select button and go to has played state, and I'm going to put a breakpoint in there. And now if we go back to the main menu, then we see we've hit another breakpoint here. And again, I can look at interesting information such as the game manager, and I can see the item that's going on. I can see my list of levels, and I can see all of my items here and work with it. What I can also do, though, is if I want to find out how many stars are in the level, I can then I can step line by line in the debugger and see what is happening inside the code itself. So I can work and understand what my code is doing, and step by step. And what I can also do is step out and step out again. And I can see now that I've got a stars for level is 0. But what I can also do is I can right click on this item here and do set value. Set value allows me to change the value that we've got, and I can say that's going to be 3. So I can use this for testing data. And if I just step over that, stars for level is 3. And if I carry on, let's just remove that breakpoint now. And I go into my level select menu. We can see now that my level has got 3 stars. So it's a great way to help test your data by changing the data as you're working through. You can understand what it is doing, and then you can change the data as well. One thing that is really nice here as well, if we just come back, let's put a breakpoint back in wave and start my game again. When we hit a breakpoint, then we get extra Unity information. We get to see the current scene, and we get to see the current game object. Rider adds this information for you, and from the scene you can see your game objects, and then you can navigate down and see all of the components that are attached to your game object and all of the child game objects as well. So you can see a view of your objects like the hierarchy in the Unity project, which is very helpful. You also get this in game objects as well. If you look at a game objects, you can see all of the components and all of the children, if there are any. And I think I'll hand back to you with that then.
はい。 ここからはですね、私、堀岡の方から高度な、デバッグ機能ということで、いくつかのトピックについて紹介させていただければと思います。で、このパートではですね、ブレイクポイントのログ表示、条件付きブレイクポイント、依存ブレイクポイント、これらについて、ちょっと簡単な概要を日本語で説明してから、実際デモの方をご覧いただけます。で、その後、別の機能として、中断ポイントまたはポーズポイントという機能がありますので、これについて紹介させていただきます。はい。でまず、ブレイクポイントのログ表示なんですけども、これどういうものかというと、普通先ほどご覧いただいたようにブレイクポイントってセットしてそこに到達したらゲームが止まるっていうものだと思うんですけども、このログ表示はプログラムを止めるんじゃなくて、そこに到達したら何らかのメッセージを出すっていう機能です。で、これはですね、ここに画面の方があるんですけども、チェックボックス上から2番目のこの実行の中断っていうのをオフにしていただければ、その機能が有効になります。で、ここにブレイクポイントに到達したタイミングで、このメッセージを表示したりとか、あと真ん中の方にある任意の条件を書いて、この変数の値がこうなっているとか、そういったものもログ表示することができます。で、これブレイクポイントの機能なので、普通にデバッグログでコードを入れてメッセージを出すんじゃなくて、ブレイクポイントの機能なのでコードを変えずに、いろんなログを追加できるという機能になります。So next, please. はい、次は条件付きブレイクポイント。こっちはある条件に到達した時だけブレイクストップさせたいというものですね。ですので毎回止まってたらちょっとうざったいという時には、例えばここの例であるように、3人目の敵の時にブレイクさせたいとか、真ん中の例にあるボスキャラが来た時にブレイクさせたいとか、そういった特定の条件が来た時だけブレイクするといったものができます。はい。で、3つ目の依存ブレイクポイントなんですけど、こちらもある種ブレイクポイントに条件を追加するものなんですけども、ある別のブレイクポイントに到達したときに、このブレイクポイントを有効化したいっていうようなその付加条件を追加することができます。ということで、ここからデモの方、実際ご覧いただければと思います。
Okay, so we'll see some of these things in action. These breakpoints are very powerful, and there's a lot of very good stuff you can do with them to make them more useful to you when you are debugging your application. And the first one we'll look at is the idea of a logging breakpoint. So we can use debug.log format to output to the Unity console, and we can also show that in Rider, but we have to recompile every time to do that. And that is slow, and Unity will reload the app domain, and that's not very useful. But what we could also do is we could put a breakpoint in Rider, and then if we right-click on the breakpoint, we can configure it. We can do extra things with it. And one of the things we can do is we can say, don't suspend execution. So when this breakpoint is hit, don't stop the program, but we'll do something else instead. Rider gives us a lot more options in this case, and one of the things we can do here is to log something. So we could log just a simple, this breakpoint has been hit, so you don't need to think about it, you don't have to come up with a message. We can also output the stack trace, so you can see where it was when this item got hit. Or you can do something more powerful and evaluate an expression and output that. So here, for example, I could use agent config.name, and it will output the name for me. So we'll see this working now. And if I carry on, we can see now that we're getting our agents coming through. And if we go over to the console, to the debug output, that's the one. Scroll down to the bottom. We can see now that the items are being output there. So we can do logging without having to recompile. We can change those and work how we want to. We can do things a little bit more interesting as well. So I can change that to be agent config and add in a description. And now I'm making a string there. And let's just clear that and restart. And we can see now we've actually got more information coming out from our logging breakpoint. So we can be very complicated, do very interesting things, get more data out of our breakpoints without having to recompile. So it can be a lot quicker. The next item we can have is a conditional breakpoint. So I've got a lot of hover buggy, but if I'm interested in the hovercopter, how do I stop the breakpoint at the particular time? And we can use a conditional breakpoint for this. So again, I can add a breakpoint there, and I can right-click, and I can add a condition here. So I can do agent config dot name starts with hovercopter. And now let's just carry on with that. Let's just restart. And when I start this, now we can see we've got hover buggy, another hover buggy, another hover buggy. And there we are. Now we've hit the breakpoint when we're at the hovercopter. So I don't have to keep on saying resume, 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 resume until I'm at the right place. I can let the debugger do it for me, which is very powerful. And so now I can work and examine just with the hovercopter myself. But what if I wanted to look at the object which was the hover buggy after the hovercopter? This would be an interesting one. So let's say I put another breakpoint here, and I only want this one to work when the hovercopter has happened. I can use this item here, disable until hitting the following breakpoint, and use my conditional breakpoint here. So now I've got a dependent breakpoint. And if I just restart this, then we see we're going to have hover buggy comes through. We're going to have a few of these. Then we're going to see the hovercopter. And then we're going to get the item after that. Oh, I forgot. I want to turn off suspend execution. So now that's stopped for my hovercopter, but I want the one after the hovercopter. So let's just continue with that and restart. Try that one again. Okay, so we see the hover buggy, another buggy, and we'll see some more buggies until we see the hovercopter. There's the copter, and then we see the hover buggy. This is now the buggy after the hovercopter. So we can be quite complicated here, which is great when you're doing a game, because your game is going to have a lot of enemies and you can have a lot of items, and you can find the specific enemy that you want to work with and work with those particular objects. Okay, but now I can't do anything with Unity. Unity doesn't let me work with anything there. When I'm at a breakpoint, then my items are, the editor is frozen and I can't edit anything, I can't change anything. So I can do something different here. I want to do something different. And what I want to do here is use this item down here to convert to a Unity pause point. And we can see we've got a different icon here now. And this is going to do something different. So let me restart again. And if I click Start Wave, we're going to see that our game runs as we expect. We're getting our hover buggies. We're going to get a hovercopter. Let's go back up here. There's the hovercopter. And now all of a sudden we're in pause mode. Rider has put Unity into pause mode, and I can edit it. I can move around, zoom in, zoom out, and I can see my new item here, and I can navigate around. I can move the object around. In fact, let's move the object. So let's make that float up there, and then I can change the speed here to, let's say, 15. And if I'm happy with that, then I can resume, and we can see now that we've got a buggy which is just going far too fast and has changed. So this is a very useful way of being able to look at your game, understand what is happening in the editor, but using the same conditions and dependencies as a breakpoint. So I could do something here. If I just create a new item there, convert it to a pause point, but I can still create a condition. So again, that starts with hovercopter. So my pause point will only happen when we actually get the hovercopter. So it will go through, my game runs as normal, and then when we hit the hovercopter, it will then pause Unity. And again, there. So again, I can change items with that. I can change details. I can examine things. I can look at the other items that are available in the editor and work with it, and then resume, and it will carry on as normal. This is a very powerful way of debugging your application. Okay.
はい。ということで、ちょっとね、順番が逆になったんですけども、一番最後に紹介した機能が、ポーズポイント、もしくは中断ポイントって機能で、普通のデバッグとの違いは何かというと、普通にデバッグして実行が中断されてしまうと、Unity エディター自体が止まって操作できなくなってしまうんですよね。で、このポーズポイントっていうところにしておくと、Unity エディター自体は先ほどちょっとご覧いただいたように一時停止になっているので、そこでUnity エディターの操作ができるので、いろいろ変えたりできるということで、なんか止まった時に Unity エディターの方でいろいろ調査してみたいとか、いろいろ変えてみたいという時に、ポーズポイント、中断ポイント、ちょっと中断ポイントっていう訳がどうかなと思って後で変わるかもしれませんが、こういう機能がお使いいただけるというお話でした。So next, please.
So
yeah, we can skip this.
Yeah, I showed that too soon.
はい。はい。ではちょっと次別のトピックに移りたいと思います。で次のトピックが、複数 Unity プレイヤーのデバッグということで、ゲームを開発されているときに、いろんな異なるプラットフォームでゲームをリリースされたいときに、いろいろ複数のプラットフォームでテストすると思うんですけど、そういったときにライダーの方からも簡単にデバッグが呼べますよという話です。で、Unity の、Unity で複数のそのプレイヤーとか複数のターゲットにデバッグするときに、ここに後でちょっとデモの方でもご覧いただけますけども、紹介しているように、どの、プラットフォーム、どのターゲットに対してデバッグするかっていうのを選択できるようになっています。で、デスクトップとかいろんなモバイルとか USB でつないだ iOS とか Android とか、そういったものが選べるようになっています。で、実際デバッグするときにこの画面、実行構成っていうんですけども、その画面が出てくるので、選択してデバッグを開始できます。ということで、ちょっとこの実際複数のターゲット構成でデバッグする例をご覧いただければと思います。
Okay, so I'm going to show you how we can debug applications other than just the editor. So it's very easy to attach to the Unity editor. I can just click a button and it's already connected. But what if I want to run a local desktop player or something on a console or on a mobile device? If I just launch my... Oh no, I'm in the wrong folder, 1 second. Okay, so I've got the same project running as a standalone desktop application, and to be able to do that, I can use the drop-down buttons from the toolbar here and attach to Unity process. This will then go and try and find all devices and players and consoles that I've got associated with this project, and we can see now I've found my player for my Mac, and I can just select OK, and it will then start the debugger as normal. And we've got the debug view, and then I should be able to go to, let's see, TDM. And if I go to level select, put a breakpoint in there, you can see we've got a little tick box, and now if I hit level select, then I'm starting to debug again. And we've got the same features that we've got with the editor, but now working with our player. So we can see again the current scene. We don't get as much information here because it is a desktop player, and we don't get the full information, but we can still see some things such as the children of the current game objects, and so on, and we can navigate through that information. And again, I can step in, and I can see what the current page is, activate a new page, and carry on. And I can use the resume button then to carry on. And if I go back to my wave item, put a breakpoint there, if I start playing, okay, we'll ignore that one, and I start playing, then we'll see then I get breakpoints when items are spawned here as well. And again, I can use my condition breakpoint here to do an agent config.name starts with, well, in fact, we'll do a different one here. If we bring up more information, let's get rid of the condition. We're going to use a hit count. And we can say, let's see when this breakpoint is hit 3 times, then we'll pause. And that allows me to, instead of having to look for a specific name, I can say, well, give me the 3rd enemy here. And if I carry on, then we're going to see the 3rd enemy coming along there. That was quick. And we'll break a point there. And I wanted to use equal to. We've got options there as well. We can have less than a hit count or greater than. Equal to is the one we want. So let's just carry on with that and restart that so we can see it in action. So if we start wave, then we can see we've got the first item, and all my counts are going wrong. Let's just reset this. Okay, so put a breakpoint in. I can then do more. I can say my hit count is equal to 3. And if I start my wave, we'll see that the enemies, we've got 1, 2, and then hopefully the 3rd one now, then we get the breakpoint. So when you start at the right place, it can give you a great way of working with the 3rd item, the 5th item, the 10th item, whichever one it is. We can do conditions as well, so that we can do the usual sort of thing of agent config.name. And we can have dependent breakpoints and all the other features work, but we're now debugging our player rather than the editor itself. And we can stop that there. Rider remembers the items that you've got and you've chosen. So to reconnect again, it's very easy for me to just select it from the drop-down, click debug, and then I'm should be connected. And there we go. We're back at the debugging item there. You can also work with devices as well. I've got my iPhone running the same game. And we can see now this is connected by USB. Normally, depending on the Wi-Fi, you should be able to see desktop players, consoles, mobile, iOS and Android all over Wi-Fi. If you can't see those, you can connect iPhone and Android by USB. You can select that item there. We'll click OK. And again, we're going to be debugging. And if we go to the main menu and wrong item, TDMM. And if we go to, oh no, it's not that one. Show title screen. And if I hit the button there, we should hopefully, there we go. We're at the breakpoint from my phone. So I can debug on my phone here and again step in and work with items just as you'd expect. I can look at values that we've got going on here and navigate around and also select items and change values here too. So we can do a lot of debugging, both of the editor, of players, of consoles, of mobile devices, all very simply, either using the existing items that we've got saved or by using the attached Unity process item. Okay.
はい。ということで、本日ご紹介する内容は以上になるんですけども、簡単なまとめを見ていきたいと思います。で、ご覧いただいたように、ライダーからUnity ゲームデバッグするのは、シングルクリックで、簡単に開始できますよというお話を紹介しました。で、あとブレイクポイントをセットして、ステップ実行して、ゲームのその状態確認しながら、調査できますよというお話とか、あと高度なブレイクポイントってことで、なんかボスキャラが来たらとか、なんか敵が3回来たらストップするとか、そういう条件も紹介しました。あと中断ポイントっていうことで、その Unity エディターを止めない、一時停止にして、ブレイクポイントに来たときに、Unity エディター側でいろいろ調査できる、中断ポイントモードっていうお話をしました。で、あとは、最後のお話は、Unity エディターだけじゃなくて、実際そのターゲットで動くゲームそのもの、これもUnity エディターと同じ感覚というか同じ UI でデバッグできるので、便利ですよというお話をしました。So next, please. ということで、ここからがですね、QA タイムなんですけれども、ここでもご質問あればお受けいたしますし、あとセッション後の Ask the Speaker があるので、そこでも聞いていただけますし、あと弊社 JetBrains はですね、ブースを出しておりますので、そこでも質問があればぜひお越しください。で、ブースの方ではいろんなグッズの提供とかですね。あと、ここでは本日紹介しなかった、ライダーの新しい機能で、例えばなんか AI チャット機能とか、そういったものもあるので、ちょっとそういうのを見てみたいという方はぜひお越しください。あと、そのブースではなんか、ライダーだけじゃなくて、他のJetBrains製品のお困りごととか、そういったものもあればぜひご活用ください。はい。So next, please. で、今日のセッションなんですけど、一応CEDEC さんの方でもサーベイとかやってますし、あと弊社のブースの方で、ゲーム開発についてのアンケートとかもやっているので、こちらの方ご回答いただくと、ブースの方ではですね、なんか靴下でしたっけ？靴下とか、おまけで提供したりとかもしてます。で、あと今日ご紹介したライダーですね、ダウンロードしていただければ、30日間無料で試しますし、もし、なんか会社さんの中でなんか試したいということがあれば、ぜひご相談いただければ、評価用のライセンスも提供いたします。ということで、ちょっと今から実際の Q&A セッションの方に移りたいと思います。で、ご質問があれば、お知らせください。
We've got question.
Okay,
online.
great.
iPhone USB デバッグは Windows 上の Unity からでも使えるのでしょうか？ So, debugging USB with iPhone is, can they use on the Windows?
Yes, you can debug iPhone on Mac and on Windows. It requires a library which Unity provides, and so it just works basically. So it can work on Windows, on Mac, on Apple Silicon as well. And but you have to be for Apple Silicon, you have to be using a quite new version of Unity. But yes, is the answer.
はい、Windows 上でも、ご利用いただけます。で、Windows の他にも Mac や、Apple Silicon。Apple Silicon の場合は、最新の Unity バージョンをご利用いただくことになります。
はい。
そちらお願いします。
本日は説明ありがとうございました。普段ビジュアルスタジオを Windows で使っているんですけれども、ID の乗り換えの時ってショートカット群がですね、やっぱり、心の障壁に割となりがちで、例えばそのステップインを、F10、F11 でやったりとかで、普段使ってるんですけども、JetBrains 製品ではそのビジュアルスタジオライクなショートカットを設定したりすることは可能なのでしょうか？
So his question about migration from Visual Studio to Rider, and he on his daily life he uses Visual Studio, and the question was, is there any like Visual Studio like shortcut provided by us or?
Yes is the answer. Yeah. So if we go to preferences, settings, and then we've got key map. There are a lot of different key maps here as well. So on a Mac, it's a little bit different, but you've got still Visual Studio key maps that you can use here as well as things like Sublime Text, or if you're using Visual C++, something like Visual Assist might help too. So,
Great.
yes, lots of shortcuts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
はい、でお答えとしては、このショートカットの設定で、いろんな、お使いのエディターライクなショートカットが選べるということでした。
So another online question. The same US debug on with iPhone. Is it possible build IL2 CPP?
Yes. Yes, so the iPhone build is IL2CPP, and Rider just works with that. That works
はい、
fine.
機能しますので、はい、ご安心ください。はい、
Yes, this is IL2CPP. So. Can I add something about Visual Studio there as well? It is absolutely fine for some people on your team to use Visual Studio and you to use Rider. If you use Rider, you don't have to have the whole team on Visual Studio. So some can use Rider, some can use Visual Studio. That's perfectly fine.
そうですね。ビジュアルスタジオを使っている方もいらっしゃいますし、ライダーを使っている方も会社にいらっしゃると思うんですが、それぞれ、特に、統一する必要というのはなくて、そうですね。チームの中で、はい、構成していただくことが、はい、可能となっております。はい。Yeah, one more question online.
Okay.
Fine. And it's not question about Unity, but question on debugging C++ code.
Yes.
And according to attendee, his question is with Visual Studio, there's a capability to set breakpoint for, I don't know, certain memory. And then is that possible with Rider or not?
That's a complicated answer, kind of. It works for some C++ features. It does not work for Unity because Unity and Mono do not support it. But Rider can do it with C++ and native code.
So I think it's the question about not about Unity, but it's just for C++.
Yeah, so the answer for C++ is yes. The answer for Unity is no.
もう一度ちょっと、質問を読ませていただくと、Unity の質問なので恐縮なのですが、C++ のデバッグの時に、Visual Studio であるメモリへのブレイクポイントを貼る機能が見つからないのですが、ありますかということで、C++ であれば、ある、似たような機能がある。で、Unity の時はないということですね。で、ちょっと、もしですね、質問が C++ の時にその機能が見つからないと言っているので、ちょっと、弊社の方にご連絡いただければ、ちょっと Matt の方に確認して、そのどこを見ればいいかとか、代替機能としてどんなものがあるかっていうのを、ご案内させていただければと思います。
So another question, it's English. So
Thank you.
Is it possible to use Rider through Visual Studio, like a plugin?
To use Rider through Visual Studio? I'm not sure I know what that means, or the question means.
Maybe
Sorry?
ReSharper.
ReSharper, yes. So Visual Studio has a plugin called ReSharper, which JetBrains also makes. It is very similar to Rider. It has a lot of the same features. And ReSharper works with Visual Studio. And there is a plugin to ReSharper which includes a lot of the Unity features. So there is a Unity extension for ReSharper which you can then install into ReSharper and Visual Studio to get a lot of the inspections that you would get from Rider.
そうですね。では、この辺で、終了とさせていただきます。本日は、ご来場いただきまして、誠にありがとうございました。ぜひ、ブースの方にもご立ち寄りいただければと思います。今日はありがとうございました。
それでは、マット・エリス様、ありがとうございました。以上でセッション終了となります。